MIT, where I worked a suicide hotline, and I was mentored at that time by a psychiatrist. And I just thought, wow, Daddy has all the answers, he knows how to help all the bad things, that could ever happen. And we're going to keep them from happening. And the way we do that is by connecting patients to medication treatment in a responsible and timely way. And so I went to medical school really under that sort of trance-like devotional comportment toward the system itself. And what happens when you're in an idealization merger is that there comes a time where there is a rupture, right? Mm-hmm. And that rupture often takes the form of this experience that what you thought was, so who or what you thought was on your team is revealed not to be. And that, what's called cognitive dissonance, is resolved either through, sort of putting up a blinder, just kind of ignore it, dismiss it, make excuses for it, or you're in a position to really integrate that piece. And that often means that the idealization, sort of like glitter and crystals and, rainbows, begins to fade away. And then you actually get to see what's in front of you. And often we don't like it. I really started to see like, wow, I really don't enjoy my life. Like I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. I'm angry. I'm crying myself to sleep at night that I brought 2 children into this world. Like the sky is falling kind of vibe. All I could see everywhere was contamination, corruption, and really the wrongness, which is real, right? So waking up is a heinous experience because you're often flooded with all that which you were asleep to, really choosing to be asleep to in many ways. And it just comes in, it's heavy to process. And so it's very comfortable to sort of slink back into that victim consciousness and find another angry way of, reciting the poor me mantra, right? And blaming and finger pointing kind of thing. And I had, I was blessed with a team of clinical volunteers who also believed passionately about documenting outcomes. And we began to write up case reports. Then we did a case series. And then ultimately we did a randomized trial, IRB approved and everything. And it was so much fun, because it was like sport. It was like, who cares? This is a dead system that's totally corrupt anyway. But I'll throw, my sort of like, what's the expression? Ring in the whatever. I'll throw my thing in the ring, whatever. And, and I got to really also feel reflected back to me what I was witnessing, which is there are so-called miracles coming out of this work. And what is my work? It's a lifestyle protocol, a month-long lifestyle protocol. This is not, there's not even any supplements involved. This is only choices that you make for yourself every day. That's literally it. There's no rocket science to it. My nutritional approach is not anything particularly unique. And so what I began to understand was, wow, this is a ritual. It's a ritual field that I grew very quickly, like in the space of like a year, to thousands and thousands of people who somehow were attracted to this field because they fundamentally believed in another story about their health, about their potential, and about the meaning of their experience, and maybe even about their specialness, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you are labeled with a chronic illness, and specifically a chronic so-called mental illness, the implication is not only is something, sort of, are you struggling with something? Do you have a deficiency in your organ systems or whatever? It's more that something is wrong with you, just you in general, right? And in specific, your experience of the most real aspects of your life, which are your feelings and your emotions, right? And you're going to be reminded of that and really, entering into that sort of neurolinguistic programming type realm every day when you look at that bottle with your name on it, right? It's like a self-hexing experience that you are colluding with every single day, reminding yourself that you are broken and damaged and sick, right? So these folks ultimately had a little rattling of the cage, right? That said, it's not the full story. And you'd be surprised what the truth is. You're going to like it, right? And so they entered into this process with fierce commitment, exercising one of the only true, superpowers we have, which is choice, right? Exercising that choice to manifest that miracle. So what's a miracle? It's just something that can't be explained by the existing paradigm. So that whole paradigm had to shift. And that's when I began to appreciate the role of the dark night of the soul, the role of that journey into the depths of those recesses of yourself that you thought you'd get away with never looking at. And you certainly thought you'd get away with never showing to anyone else, on pain of abandonment, betrayal or rejection, that has existential consequences, right? So that requires a ton of courage. And I really dedicated myself to celebrating, these individuals who've walked this path, and who've come out the other side of at least the first birth canal, with their gifts in their arms, understanding, oh, wow, like I'm a musician, or, oh, wow, I'm an activist, or, oh, wow, like I'm actually here to move to the country and grow a garden, or whatever it is that required a total rebirth, and reorientation around who they thought they were. So, this is the era of choice. And to, like I said earlier, to appreciate the superpower that is very, very liberating. Right. So that's where the sovereignty comes in, and it's emotional sovereignty. It's, political, it's economic. I mean, it's just all these layers we're being invited to step into. But if it doesn't start with that, I don't know, self-exploration and personal ownership of the ways in which we co-create that which we judge, like at the beginning of the pandemic, I was really inspired to look at where in my life am I exercising authoritarian, totalitarian energy? And guess what? I found it, right? So like even on my team, I stepped down as CEO of my own business. And, we created a new model of, revenue share partnership or whatever. And it's been amazing. And I get to feel actually relieved of that control-based, source of safety in my life, which ultimately wasn't. It came with all this guilt and all this weird neuroses that probably themselves were telling me like, this isn't working for you, but I didn't know another way. And I couldn't figure out how this was a choice. Right. And there were other ways, that's why I got off my smartphone, because I'm going to complain about, so many aspects of this AI agenda, and then track myself, and participate to that extent with like all of the prana of my body constantly caressing this piece of, silicone, whatever it is. And I recognized like I couldn't feel that I was in integrity making that choice. And that's what it feels like when you're ready to shift. It's never like a white knuckle kind of thing. Yeah. I don't think. It's like, oh, this is cool. This is exciting. And that's exactly what it was to get off my phone. It was like, I prepared for 3 months. I was super nervous, had all this like emotional stuff come up, and I was going to feel left behind and unproductive, and nobody was going to follow me or whatever, where I'm going. And then it was so easeful. It was almost weird. I mean, I've checked my smartphone for 2 decades, every single morning, first thing, apart from like, we have a little challenge, a digital challenge in Vital Life Project in my membership. Apart from a week where I didn't do that, I did it every single day. And then when I got off my phone, I just stopped doing that. It's just not a thing. Yeah. To check anything. I don't go to my computer first thing in the morning. That's weird. Right? So, and it was easeful. And that's how this path, I think of, reclamation can feel. It can feel, once you have that discipline, commitment, and exercising of choice, it can feel exciting and easeful.